So today we get a question from Igor, who a while ago, about 6 months ago, he said he competed in a tournament and took second place, which was good, right? Congratulations to Igor. And he says that ever since he took that second place, that silver medal, he's been super focused on going ahead and winning a gold medal. And he says that with this mindset, he's been training 6 days a week. He's been pushing himself, lifting weights, doing extra cardio, drilling, doing everything he possibly can to increase his chances of winning. Now, recently, just a couple weeks ago, his coach gets the bright idea to promote him to blue belt. And he says he wasn't expecting the promotion because he only had 2 stripes. But his coach promotes him to blue belt. And now Igor, who has a competition coming up in about 6 weeks, says he's going to have to go to the blue belt level. And he says he's pretty nervous about this because, most of these blue belts are going to have more experience than him. And he says that knowing this has changed his mindset from being focused on the win, being focused on the gold medal, to I just want to try to hang on and survive during these matches. And he says that survival mindset is not going to be useful to him in competition. So he's wondering if I have any tips on how to turn that mindset around. So brother, thank you for the question. And I'm going to share it like this. For me, personally, being focused on a gold medal, being focused on a win has always been detrimental to my competition. It's always been a hindrance more so than an aid. And, I first figured this out when I was a white belt. I was a white belt competing against a purple belt. And if you guys watched the videos, you may have heard this story before, but I was competing against a purple belt because in this particular tournament, they took white, blues, and purples, and they just sandwiched us in together, and that made up a nogi division. When I went up against my first match, it was up against a purple belt who I had talked to, and he had been training for 6 years, opposed to my 6 months. So I was like, I'm going to lose. I'm going to get smashed. And so because of that, I really didn't worry about the win and the loss. I was thinking, you know what? My coach was a purple belt. My coach whoops me. When I go against my coach, the only thing that I focus on is just go after him and maybe try to get something. And so I'm up against this purple belt, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm going to lose. I might as well give him hell. During that match, I was able to score, I believe it was 6 to his 2 points. I had 3 takedowns, and he had 1 sweep. So 6-2, I won the match. I beat a purple belt. As a white belt, this is a big, feather in my cap. It was a big deal. And I was so excited about it. And more so than that, I just felt good. I felt like, man, I was on fire. I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just going after technique after technique. And then the next match, I went up against another purple belt, and he choked me. It's actually my buddy Spider, who's a teammate now, and he choked me. And I remember during that match, I had lost that aggression, that drive to just go after him, and instead I was thinking about winning. I was like, what if I beat 1 purple belt? What if I beat 2? What if I win this whole thing? And then I got focused on that, and it really got in my way. And I realized this even more because, I knew that felt good, but I really couldn't put my finger on what it was. But when I became a black belt, it really kind of it bubbled up to the surface, and I kind of put my finger on what it was. Because as a black belt, I remember I have this weird statistic from my early black belt matches where in my early black belt matches, I had this situation where I would go into the competition and I was really nervous most of the time. And because of that, I really wouldn't fire off. And the competitors I was up against would sweep me or, take me down or whatever. They would score first. And whenever my opponents scored first, I almost won every one of those matches. So basically, which is contrast to what that usually looks like. Usually, whoever scores first wins. But they would score first, and what that did to me was it got me out of this mindset about winning and losing. I wasn't even worried about winning and losing anymore. I was like, okay, I'm losing, I gotta go. I'm backed into a corner, I can't think anymore, I just gotta go and go after my techniques. And when I would get into this mindset, I would win most of my matches. And if I didn't win them, a lot of times it was a very competitive match. Contrast that to what would happen a lot of times as a black belt when I would score first. I would score first with a takedown or whatever I was doing, and then I would be like, okay, I'm winning. Let's just hang on to the win. I was needy, right? I was so needy for the win, and I would hang on to it. And in those matches, a weird statistic started to sort of, show, which was a lot of times I would get either swept at the very end or I would get submitted at the very end because I really wasn't pressing the action. I wasn't going for the win. I was just trying to hang on to those points. And so from, taking some steps back, and, a lot of this came from journaling where I was kind of looking at it, like, what's going on here? I took a step back and looked at it and was like, man, whenever I don't worry about winning and losing, I do really well. When I worry about winning and losing, I suck. So it was like looking at it. So that was at the point where I started to really focus on just going after techniques. And for the last several years, this has been really useful to me because I've competed and been pretty darn successful. Even this past weekend, I competed up in Chicago and I took triple gold. I took gold in the gi division, and then I took gold in the gi division the no gi division in my weight class, and I did the open that day and won that as well. And so I can tell you 100% that during those matches, during the lead up to those matches, everything around it, I never once was thinking about being on the podium. I wasn't worried about that. For me, what I was worried about was, all right, I've got this human being in front of me. What kind of techniques am I going to use against him? This big guy is different than the little guy I had in the opener. This guy has a different game than this guy. What kind of techniques am I going to use versus them? When I was rolling with them, I wasn't worried about the win and the loss so much. I was worried about just pressing the action. Now, don't get me wrong. I wanted to win 100%. And I was mindful of the way that I played because it's a point-based tournament. But that said, I wasn't thinking about just hanging on to the win. I was like, I'm going after submissions. I'm going after to try to press the action. And by doing that, what happened was I was very aggressive. I was able to play a really good game plan. I was able to use my techniques effectively. And the thing that really made me happy about it was that I was able to take the guy that I am in here out there, which a lot of times was very hard for me, and it's hard for a lot of people because people feel like sometimes that they're like someone else in their gym, and then when they compete, they feel like they're hamstrung. They're not, like a lot of people tell me that man, I just feel like I'm so much better in the gym. And if you feel like that, you might be in a situation like me where, again, you're kind of getting in your own way, because that's the way I think of it. Like me focusing on the win, I'm in my own way. When I don't think about the win and I'm solely focused on techniques and just being aggressive with them, I kind of get out of my own way and I really let my game shine. I let my ability and my technique just show. And so for you, Igor, your situation, this could be a hindrance because of the fact that you're going up against more experienced people, but maybe it could be like a situation like me where now you're not worried about winning and losing. You're not worried about that because you know you're, quote unquote, supposed to lose because these people are more experienced. So what you can do then is maybe turn that mindset around from, instead of survival, think about it as you would roll with some of the higher level belts. Go give them hell. Go after them. You have nothing to lose. Go after them and try to submit them. Try to use your techniques. Try to do everything you can to win. And if you lose, then you're supposed to lose, right? No pressure. But if you win, then you beat people that are more experienced than you, and you even showed yourself that there's more in you than you thought there was. So that would be my idea, man. Like, sort of take that mindset on. If you're going to compete and you're supposed to lose, then lose. But you might as well give them hell while you're doing it. And if you surprise yourself, maybe you're better than what you think you are. And again, you have to try this process. It may not be useful to you because this is the way I do it, but it may not be useful to you. We're all unique. And the one little dab that I'll just throw out there at the very end is that, it's just a belt. It's just a rank. And a lot of times people sometimes overestimate that. You roll with blue belts every day in your gym. It's not that big of a deal. But I do know that it plays a role into our minds because it did to me when I was a blue belt. So anyway, I'm going to start going into another whole chunk of this video. So anyway, brother, I hope this helps you. Igor, thank you so much for the question. And guys, I'll talk to you next time.